Hey everyone, HK here. It's been ages since I've uploaded something to YouTube. Um, been super busy with stuff, so can't really game anymore. And with whatever spare time I have, I'm choosing to work on my game, Market Maven. For those people who don't know, I've been working on this game for a while. It's a couple of years. Essentially, it's supposed to be like a stock market simulator, and somewhere in that whole idea, there's a game hidden. still need to still need to find it. Um, but it's more of a hobby of mine. I work on it in my spare time, and I think the concept is really cool. And I have sort of a vision of how I want it to work and function and play out eventually. So I'm kind of just slowly edging towards that goal, and it's coming along. Recently, over the past couple of months, I've actually made a ton of progress. I think since the last time I made a video about this game, you can look through it, look for it if you go through my videos. I might link it somewhere. Yeah, the last since then I've rewritten the game from scratch. It was getting to the point where my code was super messy and hard to extend, and if I would leave the development for a while to focus on other things in life, then I'd come back and wasn't able to sort of wouldn't be able to really get back into the code properly and develop like a normal person. So I said, screw it, this isn't a way to live, this isn't a way to work. Scrapped it, started from scratch. Better design in mind, cleaner code. I'm trying to document everything for myself. Um, so when I come back, if ever I need to leave the code for a while, when I come back to it, it won't be so hard to get back into things. And I've also focused more on fleshing out the mechanics in the engine before actually working on the front end, like the graphics. As you can see, like you're looking at what the game pretty much looks like at the moment. It's purely like functional for me to really see what's happening behind the scenes, but it's what I'm going to use today to sort of show you what I've really been up to. So yeah, I just felt like sharing. Anyway, up here you'll see the current game time. Um, it's been slowly ticking since I started the video. I think it's 2 in-game minutes per real life second, something like that. It's pretty arbitrary. Okay, so the red bit is the sort of game world where all the components sort of live, and um, here we have obviously the player, which is me, obviously loaded with that gold. Um, Debts, I implemented like sort of a debt system, so um, for the player, it's going to be useful to like take loans from a bank if you'll ever need that. And it'll also be a way for me to detect bankruptcy later on. Like that's kind of half baked into the game. Um, this section will show you what trades the player has submitted in each of the existing markets. I'll get to what the difference is between the two in a second for those people who aren't familiar with the stock market. And down here, this is where the shares that the player has bought will appear. Over here, there's a section with the AI people, sort of auto-generated. The point of what I'm making is essentially a complete simulation of a virtual stock market. It's not based on real-world data at all. It's all I've basically just made up these companies. I've actually looked at the IPO stats for both Apple, PayPal, and a couple other companies. So the numbers are kind of similar to what they were in real life. But other than that, the game, will sort of just the moment the simulation starts, it'll take a life of its own, and these people will essentially fuel the simulation by deciding to buy or sell at different prices, and that's how the simulation will work. So this time I've gone all out. I think there's 1,000 people maybe 2,000. I don't even remember. Yeah, okay, 2,000 people in this simulation. Um, and each one has a certain amount of resources, just like the player. Next actions is sort of how the AI works is per company it'll decide when to sort of act next, and depending on their what I've called urgencies, they'll do different things for each company. And the urgencies sort of affect when the next action will be and what it'll be, whether they'll buy or sell, and how much and for how much and stuff like that. Um, the actual AI itself isn't the best at the moment, but the framework is there, so it's just a matter of tweaking it, which I feel pretty good with. I think that's some good progress. Over here, the companies. This is where the companies are. There's the ticker for them, just like in the real world stock market, is just a convenience to sort of identify different companies, and this is the price, the current price of their stock, and this will change as trades happen, of course. So to start the simulation, what we have to do is basically make a company go from private to public. Essentially, that's how the real world stock market works. Let's just go ahead and do it. Now, at the moment, the game runs on a single thread, which is terrible because you can see the clock kind of stopped and all the people are sort of calculating what they want to do. And on top of that, the UI also has to update and the clock also sort of has to catch up. So it's going a bit faster than normal. But if I stop it, we can have a look. So the primary market is where companies sell their shares initially when they become public in what's called an IPO, an initial public offering. It's basically a normal stock market just reserved for companies to sell their shares. So normal people can't sell anything on this market; they can only buy. So this is what the IPO of this company looks like. They're selling 4,600 shares for $22 a pop, and we'll get to that in a second. The secondary market, there could be more than one, but in this simulation I've just added one. The secondary market is for people to trade amongst themselves. So the difference between the primary is where companies sell shares, and secondary market is where people sell shares. So the price of the stock doesn't really change when it's in the primary market during the IPO because that's just how IPOs work. In case you're wondering why the amount is going down and the price isn't changing, so that's why. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do is actually hide this bit with the people. I just wanted to kind of show that they exist and what their features are. But for the sake of the simulation, I'm gonna hide it um, so it doesn't lag the game too much until I sort of figure out how to split it up between threads and stuff. Okay, so now the interface is a lot cleaner, and we'll just start over. So going to make this company go public. It's still going to lag a little bit, but not as much as before. And now the simulation effectively has started. All the people have decided when they want to do what, and I think I'm actually going to buy just a couple of shares for myself. Okay, great. So now you can see that I bought the shares. My money has gone down. And I'm just going to skip forward a little bit so we can see the numbers are starting to go down. And this part of the AI works perfectly. They know how to interact with the IPO, and the numbers go down sort of realistically. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I'll just skip forward a little bit. And the simulation still happens if I skip time. I've sort of figured out a pretty decent system to sort of handle all this stuff happening in the background, even with the passage of time. So if I skip an hour and the number goes down, that's not just random. It's like it's actually simulated. So I don't have to waste any time. The IPO will be over in a second, and what's going to happen is the company will move from the primary market to the secondary market, and then people will start selling and buying amongst themselves. There we go. So let's get forward a bit. And people are starting to request buy trades. And this is where the AI still isn't kind of working very well. They don't really. I've written it so they try to buy for, like, I don't even remember what I wrote. It doesn't make a lot of sense at the moment, but essentially what ends up happening is people are only trying to buy, and the people who actually have shares from the IPO, and they're not actually selling for some reason. I don't know. I still need to work on it, obviously. But the price actually did change at some point. Somebody did sell for less, so the price went down, and that's reflected over here. I didn't even notice. Yeah, it's a bit wonky. It could use some work. Um, yeah, and I can also sell myself, and chances are there's somebody. Uh, if I want to make money, let's say, so I'll sell for like 10 cents more than I bought, and we'll see what happens. So uh, my trade showed up here. Oh, whoops! I used the wrong market. My bad. So now the lowest sell price is mine because I'm the only person selling at the moment. Um, and when all these trades expire, somebody will buy my somebody will take my offer because the trades do expire after a certain time, and if the AI has like a pending trade, so they won't actually submit another one. I did this so they don't just spam trades constantly. Um, I think I'll skip the video to when that happens. Okay, so for some reason, nobody's buying my shares. Not sure why. That's okay. The AI is still pretty rough, like I said. It's gonna need some work. Yeah, I realized that this video got pretty technical, but um, it's pretty off the cuff. I just kind of wanted to share what I was working on. And obviously, my goal is not for this game to look like this when it's ready for release or whatever. I'm gonna try to make it look a bit more friendly and um, a lot less technical. This is just I've basically got the whole engine displayed on the screen, and obviously there's going to be no need for anybody to see this except for me. Um, I might also show you what I'd like to show you next is actually what I'd like the interface sort of to look like. If you could remember in the last video I made, it was like with windows and stuff that you could drag around the screen, and I still want it to look like that. So I also started working in parallel on how I want to implement that. I scrapped the older system because it was super hard to maintain, like I said in the beginning of the video, and I opted instead to use a couple of external libraries and technologies to sort of do all the heavy lifting for me. And it's coming along great. If only it would load. Uh, Let me just get it loaded. Give me a sec. Great. So this is kind of where the interface is at the moment. You'll recognize the windows and overall kind of design from the previous version. Obviously, the colors are off and the fonts and everything. I haven't gotten around to that yet, but it all works just like the previous version. You could drag windows around and stuff. This version also has animations and stuff, which is pretty cool. You can resize the windows, minimize them, maximize them. It's all working pretty well. So yeah, right now I'm working on all this stuff, and that's pretty much what I have so far as far as the interface goes. This is all obviously really rough, and it's not going to look. Hopefully, it's not going to look anything like this by the end. But like I said, I'm working towards it. So yeah, I thought I'd also share my thoughts on like the direction and kind of where I see this project going, because obviously it's really rough at the moment, and it's still a stock market simulator, which doesn't really sound like the most fun sort of game that you could play, if I can even call it a game. So right now, to me, this is just a fun project. I think it's really cool to sort of interact with the system that seems to have a life of its own, and it's even cooler when it's sort of simulating the stock market, and you get that satisfaction from earning money or making money from the virtual simulated stocks. So that's what it means to me right now, anyways. And hopefully, when I sort of flesh out the base of all this, then I'll be able to really dedicate time to making it actually, fun and playable as a game. Um, Not exactly sure how I'm going to do that at the moment because all my focus is going into sort of making the simulation work, because that's obviously going to be the focus of everything. So we'll kind of see if you have any ideas or whatever, feel free to share them with me. I'm always happy to hear, because I don't really have a direction as far as that goes at the moment. Um, yeah, I guess thanks for watching. I know it got really technical, but that's what I'm making. That's what I got, and thanks for sticking around.